I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please, Mrs. Damon.
Ms. Anderson? Mr. Ayers?
Here.
Mrs. Brockman?
Here.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Here.
Mr. Canwisher? Mrs. Kunkel?
Here.
Dr. Wagley?
Here. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any questions regarding this evening's agenda? If not, I will take a motion.
I move the board approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hoskins, second by Mr. Ayers to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I will need a motion for an executive session.
I move that the board hold a closed session as provided in section 21.51J of the open meetings law to discuss the purchase or sale of a particular real estate where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the school district would have to pay or lower the price the district would receive for the property.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Brockman, second by Ms. Kunkel, that the board hold a closed session as provided in section 21.51J of the open meetings law to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the school district would have to pay or lower the price the district would receive for the property. Roll call vote, please, Ms. Damon.
Mr. Ayers?
Yes.
Mrs. Brockman?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Yes.
Mrs. Kunkel?
Yes.
Dr. Wagley?
Yes. Vision statement. It is a vision of the Pleasant Valley Community School District to provide the finest academic and extracurricular programs in the state, not in some things, but in everything. Not for some students, but for all students. Welcome to our guests. If you would like to address the board regarding a non-agenda item, now would be your opportunity to do so. Anything? Okay. We'll go on to board members. Mr. Ayers.
I just want to wish everyone a happy first day of school tomorrow and hope it goes very smoothly and off without a hitch.
Thank you. Hoskins.
He took my statement, so ditto, Mr. Ayers.
Spunko.
A little piggybacking on that, but a little different. I have a few things. I wanted to say thank you to Spartan Assembly. I was lucky to go to welcome back to school for my youngest at elementary, and I got to go to the junior high with my middle son and the high school. And Spartan Assembly was at all of those events, and they were extremely helpful at the high school and the junior high. For those two that aren't familiar with those facilities and pointing out, where to go and how to find your locker. And I was saying I didn't realize how big the high school was, and it was really nice to see them there. So thank you to them. The second thing I wanted to do is thank the coaches and the athletic director, theater department, band department for the camps they held this summer. I had a lot of people mention to me how great their children had it. How great of a time their children had at those activities, but also even some of the families that are new to the district. It was a great way for those kids to meet some other faces and get to meet people, so when they go to their first day of school tomorrow, they're not as anxious. And so I'm just really grateful that we have those activities this summer, or over the summer, to keep the students engaged. So I wanted to give a shout out to them. And then one more shout out to Brian and Debbie, all of our admin, the principals and teachers, because while we were relaxing this summer, all of you, Beth too, working so hard to make sure this school year goes off without a hitch. So that's the last thing, but thank you so much, very much appreciated.
Thank you. Ms. Brockman.
I echo everyone else's thoughts.
Okay, great, wonderful. How about Mr. Kingsmith, anything from you?
I do have something
Oh,
actually
okay,
tonight.
go ahead, all right.
I have some good news to share. Excuse me. Corey Gamble, our food service director, wanted me to let everybody know that the district received a very generous donation of a salad bar from Von Mar, the shopping place. They donated a brand new custom-built salad bar to the district. An employee of Von Mar, Lori, hopefully I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, Niers, Niers. She works for Von Mar and has a son who attends Pleasant Valley School District. So that was part of the reason for wanting to donate it to the district, is because she has a son that attends the district. The salad bar was purchased by Von Mar for their corporate office staff prior to COVID. And it was never really used by them. It's brand new, unused. It has a value of about $11,000. So we originally took it to Hopewell, and we're going to possibly use it there, but it was too tall for the elementary school kids to reach. So then we moved it out to our junior high. We replaced a salad bar out at the junior high that we were having. According to Corey, it had seen its better day and had difficulty staying at temperature. So we replaced it with this brand new one that was donated by Von Mar. So thanks to them for a very, very generous donation. I know Corey's going to send them a thank you note, and just wanted to make everybody aware of that.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Okay. Mr. Hyatt.
I just wanted to send out a thank you to everybody for kicking the year off well. We had a great day of learning on Friday with our elementary team. We had a partnership that we established over the summer with the University of Iowa Baker Teacher Center, and also worked with consultant Don Ortman, and just had a wonderful day of learning in the morning. Positive energy. Our staff came bringing it, and they put their learning to work during their collaborative afternoon of working and planning for students. So it was wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you. Kenyon.
I'm good. I don't have anything.
Mr. Zimmer.
Well, just an update for the board on our registered apprenticeship. I think you're aware that January we introduced you to that process, and at that time we had 2 students that were selected by Arconic to participate in the very first one, and then in March Arconic was seeking a 3rd applicant, and so they accepted a 3rd person down there. Well, the 2 that originally started were hired full-time in July for Arconic, so that was a very big deal. And our 3rd registered apprentice right now is going to be a senior, so he's been working down there the whole summer. We'll start. And then today, Mr. Strews, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Spiller, and myself went down to Boy Machine, and they had a signing ceremony for our first welder apprenticeship. And so Tristan and his father were down there, and that'll be your first placement down there. And then next Monday, we're going to have our second signing ceremony with Boiler, ornamental iron and welding. So anyway, that's kind of an update on that, where that's landing. So the Grow Your Own, I think, is starting to gain some traction.
That's great.
Was the 2 that got, or were the 2 that got hired the 2 that were here?
Yes.
Okay. That's awesome.
So, yeah, and that's at their apprenticeship taken on at 28 plus the board, high school.
Ms. Daly.
I do actually. I will share with all of you. It's included in the newsletter, but once again, we were the recipients of some great school supplies. Genesis, the bus, pack the bus. You might hear of that. We get boxes of just random stuff, send it all out and send it out. Marifi Han, well, mom, started a few years ago with just some friends in her basement. Let's do some school supplies. Now it's over 200 backpacks. They send all over the Quad Cities, schools, social service agencies, and so forth. She's gone from them all packing them to people contributing filled packs because it was too big to even have it at her church. So that's incredible. Her dad, Theron Schutte, was the superintendent at Bettendorf for quite a long time and a good friend of our district. And Deere and Company the other day, just somebody dropped off some more filled bags, so we don't want any kids to look any different because their school supplies don't quite measure up to other kids, so it's a great thing.
It's great. It's very, very generous, and today there's been a lot of generosity, obviously, so that's wonderful. Mr. Struess.
3 items. The first one, Beth, just before our board meeting, sent out an announcement. So anyone watching or for anyone on the board table, the junior high roundabout has just been opened here this evening. So if you drive on 35th Street from Valley Drive out to the junior high, that is open. So the entrance going in and the exit leaving the junior high is open. The only thing we have to work through yet this week is coming west from LeClaire on Wisconsin. That will stay closed yet through this week, but that will be paved as well. So when you're used to the ruts that we used to have from the broken asphalt, that is now flat and looks very nice. So by the end of this coming week, hopefully that is all done. So we're excited for that. The second part is this weekend we had the opportunity to give a class reunion tour to classes of 62 through 68, which was our original class of graduating kids, graduates from 60 years ago. And it was just amazing to listen to their stories, their memories, and as Mr. Zimmer would say, them trying to find the old school in our new school. So it was a great tour, and it was fun listening to them. So it was a real honor and privilege to give them that tour. And then lastly, I just want to again say thank you to all of you for showing up on Wednesday morning. That was just a complete honor, and I could not thank you enough for the support you give our teachers and what that meant to them. Just greatly appreciate you giving your time. You guys are an amazing board, and just loves to have that, so thank you.
I think we can all say that it was really our pleasure to be there amongst greatness, to be honest. The whole atmosphere, attitude, it did not seem like a meeting of any sort, and I thought it was a great time. So thank you for having us. So
You're welcome anytime, so
Thank you.
stay tuned for next year.
All right.
Yeah, one thing at a time.
All right. Let's go on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions on this evening's consent agenda? If not, I will take a motion.
I move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Ayers, second by Ms. Kunkel to approve this evening's consent agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The approval of bills. General fund?
I move that general fund warrants be issued in the total amount of $467,875.33 in payment of invoices presented.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Hoskins, second by Ms. Brockman, that the general fund warrants be issued in the payment of invoices presented. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nutrition fund.
I move that nutrition fund warrants be issued in the total amount of $28,964.56 in payment of invoices presented.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Ayers, second by Ms. Kunkel, that the nutrition fund warrants be issued in the payment of invoices presented. Is there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Elementary Junior High Activity Fund.
I move that elementary junior high activity fund warrants be issued in the total amount of $2,026.68 in payment of invoices presented.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Brockman, second by Ms. Hoskins, that the Elementary Junior High Activity Fund warrants be issued in the payment of invoices presented. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? High School Activity Fund.
I move that the high school activity fund warrants be issued in the total amount of $53,240.90 in payment of invoices presented.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Ayers, second by Ms. Kunkel, that the High School Activity Fund warrants be issued in the payment of invoices presented. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Management Fund.
I move the management fund warrants be issued in the total amount of $12,410 in payment of invoices presented.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Kunkel, second by Ms. Brockman, that the Management Fund warrants be issued in the payment of invoices presented. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Capital Projects Fund.
I move that capital project fund warrants be issued in the total amount of $693,623.67 in payment of invoices presented.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Brockman, second by Ms. Hoskins, that the Capital Project Fund warrants be issued in the payment of invoices presented. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? PEPAL Fund.
I move the PEPAL fund warrants be issued in the total amount of $81,422.19 in payment of invoices presented.
Motion by Mr. Ayers, second by Ms. Brockman, that the PEPAL Fund warrants be issued in the payment of invoices presented. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Internal Service Fund.
Move that internal service fund warrant 6408 to 6413 be issued in the total amount of $509,816.27 in payment of invoices presented.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Hoskins, second by Mr. Ayers, that the internal service fund warrant 6408 to 6413 be issued in the payment of invoices presented. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed? And then trust fund.
The trust fund warrants be issued in the total amount of $2,425.40 in payment of invoice presented.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Ayers, second by Ms. Kunkel, that the trust fund warrants be issued in the payment of invoices presented. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on, the old business which we have on our agenda, the transition assistance program, or the TAP program, is actually going to be moved to the September 12th meeting because a couple people who we wanted here to give the presentation are not able to come today. So we're going to move that as old business to the meeting on September 12th. So we'll go on and move to the new business, which is the summer school report. Mr. Hyatt?
So everybody has a copy of the summer school annual report. We were up 10 kids from last year in total, and those being at the elementary level. So you can see there were 241 students who enrolled in and attended summer school. Attendance, if you scroll down to the lower part or the second page, we had 56% of those kids absent one day or less, which isn't bad considering summer school was sandwiched between July 4th and our family week that we have at the end of the year. 13 days of summer school for our elementary students, 10 for our junior high students, and we did house the junior high students at Hopewell along with our K-5 friends, and I should say incoming first grade through fifth grade. And so 276 kiddos in Hopewell in total during those 2 weeks where they were all together. We had 23 teachers for, and that includes the 3 specials during the elementary days that were active, and 2 for junior high. And the specials is a way to keep kids engaged. We get right after the core content areas heavily focused on math and reading over the course of the day. We do have certified teachers in those positions as well as aides to assist with students who need a little additional support, most often IEP students. And those specials are a fun little engaging exercise. One of my favorite things to do during summer school to visit was the robotics. Kids were really heavily engaged, and I think that motivated several of them in their course of the day to be there. But the specials folks, I joked with Mr. Weiss, after watching him during a day of doing PE, he got enough jumping jacks and push-ups and for all of us sitting around this table right now. It was very engaging. The kids had a good time. I'm grateful for our staff who were committed. We did have a couple of certified teachers from other districts who filled in some spots but had connections with us, and so it was good to have them on board. I'm grateful for our teachers coming in the day after July 4th to prepare for that, and thankful for Missy Huff and putting together the supplies and having things up and running, especially this rookie year of mine. I was very grateful for her consistency in that way. I'm also very grateful to our administrators who we share that responsibility of oversight during summer school. We spread the joy amongst us on those days, and everybody pitches in and covers it a couple days. And so thank you to them. Budgetarily speaking, if you go to the expense report, you can see the numbers. The teacher salaries equated to about $44,340, and not about, that was the exact amount. And then we did have secretary and administrative and aid expenses at about $19,682.51. And so when you include FICA and IPERS, that equates to $73,095.64 in total for our expenses for summer school for our first grade through 8th grade students this year. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Hyatt?
I just have one question. So what does it look like when all these elementary school, or all of the kids finish summer school, is there communication with their, and I know it's harder at the junior high because they have lots of different teachers, but is there any communication with the classroom teacher of those kids to say, hey, this one's still really behind here, or what does that look like?
So the classroom teachers recently held vertical articulation meetings, and what they will see, so in those vertical articulation meetings, they're passing the torch, so to speak, and talking about kids and their data from, say, a third grader to fourth grade, and there will be a marking showing that the student attended summer school. And I left out, you just reminded me, your question was a good one, I left out two pieces I probably should have explained. One, that teacher recommendations and test scores on FAST are what initiate the recommendation for summer school. There can be requests. It is not required. You can't require attendance of that at summer school. It's not compulsory, I should say. But we do have very positive responses because of those connections teachers have with families and then with one another. And so if a teacher, say a teacher right now of that said fourth grader, has had that vertical articulation meeting and they have more questions, they would reach out to the administrator or teacher to get more information in regard to that. The other piece that your question reminded me of was that we will be looking for growth. We hope that this is an investment in these children, closing the gap, not just sustaining, but closing the gap, and we have interventions in place for a lot of these kiddos during the school year too. So we will be looking at their fall testing scores to see how they did, as well as their FAST scores, which that will be administered here right away this fall.
I had a question about the launch to fourth grade. That's the third column over. Was that program then just stopped and because it's then a part of now the new program, the elementary summer school program as a whole?
Yeah, there's been limited interest in that workshop model, and that's a more it was typically a small group specifically targeted third to fourth grade, looking at that fluency boost that they were giving, smaller group, and there's been a lower interest in that. One conversation I know I have experienced as a principal was parents considering which one gives them more bang for the buck, and they just decided to go with summer school.
And launch to fourth was right after school was out, which is sometimes a little more difficult, I think. We just wanted to break. Yeah.
So the students that would have been served by that program then are going to the other program is still getting.
We would definitely hope.
Or at least recommending.
Yeah, we recommend them.
Yeah.
I have a question. So when you look at, we had 276 students this year, and it was 266 last year. When you look back to 2019, we were at 220. So there's been an increase by about over 50 kids. Is this, how do you explain that trend? Are you thinking because this post-COVID still and there's some learning loss and those types of issues?
I do think that the interest level was higher by parents in the prioritization of summer school as a response to that has been something. But yes, you could say that there was some learning loss because of that, and we certainly hope that helped.
Okay, great. So obviously we'll be looking at that for next summer, and obviously we'd like that trend to go downward a little bit to what it was pre-COVID if we can. I know our district is growing as well, so there's going to be some of that as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think 10 is not, it's probably pretty consistent with that growth when you look at the percentage.
Yeah.
It was not making the mark in the growth of our population. We sure do hope that we work ourselves out of business when it comes to this recommendation, but it does make sense mathematically.
So, next question for Mike. Mike, so when we look at these numbers, are you just budgeting in a certain amount for summer school every year then, or how do you usually work that
It still
out?
gets covered out of our at-risk budget, I believe.
It does, or some ESSER funds if need be. Yep.
Okay.
And we pretty much look at that around $70,000 a year. Used to be a little bit less, but you note that we do have transportation in there, which is around the 12,000 or so. We do bus now for elementary the last few years.
Okay.
And the way the bus route works is it picks the kids up at the school. It's not like a during the school year route.
Okay.
So the school is a hub. It shows up.
Any other questions for Mr. Hyatt?
So, Mr. Hyatt, would there be anything that you look at this year and say, we could improve it if we did this, or the timing, is it good timing as far as right after the fourth, that month of July? Also, is the time of day good timing? Are there any changes that you see?
So to directly answer your pieces, I think the timing is always challenging in summer. For a long time, our decision was to do it later in the summer so that kids were coming off, if they had some summer regression or had not engaged in books over the course of the summer, then we're getting them ready or queuing them up for a successful school year. With the family week now implemented in the way that July 4th fell in, and wanting to stay consistent in the number of days, this was the most sensible place to put it, because it pushed us, family week, it pushes us too close up to the school year there, with regard to our new teacher orientation and all the ongoings that happen mid-August. And so that's one challenge. In regard to things to work on, one thing that caught my eye right out of the gates, we were dusting some materials off with regard to curriculum. I think we need to rejuvenate and revisit, look at our current reality when it comes to what we offer our teachers. Our teachers do a fantastic job of using the resources we have, but we probably could bolster those when it comes to the fact that this is intervention time for kids, and we're trying to close the gap for them. Intensifying that and using a research-based curriculum for summer school, I think, would be a good thing. I think it would not only be better for the kids, but it would provide a more guaranteed and viable curriculum to our staff.
One more question. I've noticed some families that have children with severe needs are interested in having their children participate in a summer program due to skill development, even when it comes to some life skills things and needs that they have, and they don't necessarily qualify for this program. Has there been any discussion about how we could give those students with those more severe needs an opportunity to be a part of a summer program that'll help them kind of maintain the schedule that they're used to during the school year, things of that nature?
Yes, and actually, an IEP is ultimately what drives that decision. So the parents, as well as the IEP, the rest of the IEP team, would be the folks to determine, would there be summer regression to the point that we must have specialized or specially designed instruction for that student during the summer. We have students with IEPs, but students who have more severe and profound needs, they would have programming that would be tailored to their specific needs, likely outside of summer school and in their home building.
Any other questions for Mr. Hyatt? If not, I will take a motion.
I move the board accept the 2022 summer school report as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ayers, second by Ms. Brockman, that the board accept the 2022 summer school report as presented. Roll call vote, please, Ms. Damon.
Mr. Ayers?
Yes.
Mrs. Brockman?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Yes.
Mrs. Temple?
Yes.
Dr. Worgley?
Yes. Okay, moving on to other new business, the 2022-2023 enrollment update and future planning. Mr. Struce and Mr. Pinkensmith.
So on the screen, Beth has for you, I know it's kind of small, so maybe we'll blow that up a little bit. It just gives you kind of an idea of where we are as of Friday with our enrollment. Again, it continues to change on a daily basis until October 1st, when we actually have it due. but right now we're looking at around 5,575 students in our district, which is clearly the highest we've ever had as a district. You know, a couple of highlights, when you look at K through 12 right now, we only have 2 grade levels that are below 400. You have first grade at 395 and 12th grade at 398. Otherwise, all other grades are above 400 for the first time ever. As you go through, you know, kindergarten and second grade are still our tightest grades, where we had to go over in a couple of those classrooms by a student in a classroom, and we knew that coming back last spring. And 461 in second grade is our highest class that we've had, so that's why that is a tight one there for us. And then kindergarten at 418 is also a high kindergarten class for us. So we'll continue to watch these numbers. And I just put down there where we were last year at October 1st, which is count day. You can see we're at 5,321. We ended the school year last year in May. Ended up being 4 students different between those two, with kids coming and going, so it's pretty close. So right now we are up from October of last year, we're up 254 students roughly, and since the end of the school year, up 250 students. So that is what will be filling our halls this year, is 250 students. So that's really kind of just really there tonight, but what I want to share with you, future planning, just to give you a heads up where we are at as we continue to watch this very closely. I feel like we got to stay ahead of, is this the projection that's going to continue, or where are we going? So when you look at where we're at right now, we met last Thursday, or 2 Thursdays ago, the 11th of August. Mike, myself, and Leland met with our FRK, our engineering company, our architectural firm out of Des Moines, and we asked them the following question: what would it take to make Bridgeview a 4-section building, Cody a 4-section building? What would it look like if we add on to the high school the additional towers, or if we add on the back like a science and math wing in the back of our building at the high school? We talked about, you know, future plans, maybe an automotive area. And we also talked about with our football field, the Spartan Stadium, if you increase the locker rooms there, what would that look like? So we've asked them to do some future projections for us as to what those would look like. And if we were to make, say, Bridgeview a 4-section building, where does that adding on go? Where's your parking lot space go? So they will come back with some ideas there. So, and the nice thing is the amount of work we have done with them, this first initial glance, there's no cost to it, but they will bring back some ideas for us to keep that moving forward. The second thing, which we have not done for actually since 2014, and this is one of those things where an enrollment projection study, and there's multiple ways, different companies that offer this. But back in 2014, we used the ISFIS, or the Iowa School Finance Information System. So what you see on the screen right now in the box, the enrollment projection study, you can see what it includes when they complete the study. Probably the biggest thing to me would be our total students served, the enrollment as to what they think it's going to be. Potentially a district open enrollment in, open enrollment out. They try to figure that out, and also they look at certified enrollments. And they do that through a 20-year analysis of where you have been in the past to create a regression or trend line information. They look at what has happened, unique situations. For us, opening a new elementary school could be that, or the amount of housing that has changed, or so they look at the economy and say what has caused this and what will happen. After they do this study, they would come back with a 10-year rough projection at each grade level as what they think would be for the next 10 years, and try to give you kind of an idea of where we are going. So they look at all the financial forecasting, as well as the number of houses in the area, number of students, how they are, where's the population migrating to, data, birth of children. So they look at a lot of different factors. So when we did this back in 2014, when you look at this first column, which would be on the screen right now, this D36, they were off by 38 students over the course of that entire time. Now you can see the minus, so what the actual was, if it's a minus, that would show that the district's actual number was less than what ISFIS had predicted, correct. So when you see a positive number, we were over by that amount compared to what they thought. So the first few years they were below, and then now we went above. But again, it's nothing. When I looked at this, I was surprised how close it was overall, with what has transpired. So when you look at the process, if we move forward with it, it's roughly $5,000 for them to come in and do this study, the analysis. They do a lot of it through the DE trend lines of certified enrollments. They look at a lot of county assessor information, and they may reach out to us for some information as well. But believe it or not, because the process they use, they can have this done in about 4 weeks of time. So again, for us, getting this information back, getting what FRK can give us, trying to get a forecast of where we are going and where we are headed, I think is very beneficial. So, I mean, you can spend up towards quite a large chunk of money for an enrollment study, but I think this would be a very valuable one just for what they can get and how close they are to see where the projections may go. I just feel like the ones that we have been doing are good, but when you get a big push like we've had this year, I want to make sure, can someone come in and say, is this going to continue or will it slow back down? Because remember, when we opened up Hopewell, the first year after Hopewell, we saw a big push in homes, also in enrollment, and then it kind of came back down. So I would prefer just to have someone check our thinking. There's another outside opinion, and so that would be my recommendation after looking at these numbers. And you can even look at open enrollment ins and outs. Again, I don't think they were that far off when you think about the amount of movement that is there. Now, again, with the open enrollment date dropping, maybe that will change things here moving forward, but that's things that they will look at. Looking at the future, I think this is important.
Does your crystal ball spreadsheet that we've seen so many times, how far out does that go?
I have that going out to 2030
Okay.
right now.
I think
So-
it's worth the cost because I don't think we can afford to get it wrong. And we still may get it wrong, but I think it's worth the cost to have some more data.
What is the cost of it?
$5,000.
Okay.
I think it's roughly $5,050. Actually, $5,500.
5,500.
Yep, 5,500.
5,500 if we do both pieces.
If we did both pieces, correct? Yes.
How much time does it take to get that information?
4 weeks, roughly.
2 to 4 weeks is.
Yeah. Yeah, yep, 2 to 4.
Plan on 4.
And then they would give us a PowerPoint presentation, and they would talk to us about, they go through the information with us as well.
At a school meeting. Are these these people from, it's this same IFS company, right, or?
Yeah, they're out
They're
of,
located out of the Des Moines area.
Okay, Des Moines area, okay.
They do a lot of school finance related stuff. We actually used to have a membership to them for a few years, and then we decided to just go with IASB for our
Okay.
finance stuff rather than both them and ISFIS.
Remind me what it stands for?
Iowa School Finance Information Services.
They've been pretty close
It's an acronym.
in other districts, similar, they were close with ours, which is, I appreciate seeing those numbers because that's helpful in the decision, but also, do you have information about the relationship with other school districts that they've done this for and them being close there as well? They have a history, I guess, of being kind of on point.
this is something that they've asked us multiple years to do, the forecasting, and we just haven't done it because we thought we were pretty close. Like I said, this year I'm just like, it's a little abnormal. So, but they do it for quite a few.
Quite a few districts and do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Any other questions? And if the board feels that this is a good idea, then I'll take a motion.
I move the board approve the engagement of Iowa School Finance Information Services to conduct an enrollment forecast study for the district.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Kunkel, second by Ms. Hoskins, that the board approve the engagement of Iowa School Finance Information Services to conduct an enrollment forecast study for the district. Roll call vote, please, Ms. Seaman.
Mr. Ayers?
Yes.
Mrs. Brockman?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Yes.
Mrs. Kunkel?
Yes.
Dr. Waldorf?
Yes. Okay, that concludes the public part of the meeting. Now we have an executive session. So